A new national pride will stir our souls.
Oh no!
A new national pride will stir our souls.
Oh no!
A new national pride will stir our souls.
No!
Hey guys, well, as I'm recording this, the race is heating up in the Canadian federal election. There's a few things that I think in this election they are different than most elections. However, don't you know the saying that this election matters more than any election ever before? And did you notice that no matter what election it is, this always comes up? What it tells me, and what it should tell you, is that elections are indeed important. And that's why it's important that everybody who's eligible to vote actually takes their responsibility and their right seriously. Because you know what happens when you don't vote? Even though you have all the right intentions, you have integrity, you have morals, you have the right values, whatever they may be. They might be different, yours from mine, but you believe in yours, I believe in mine. And we should make our voices heard no matter what side we're on.
Should there be a penalty for not voting? A fine, perhaps?
Why is this so important? All we need to do is look south of our Canadian border here to the United States, where voter turnout in the last election was kind of low, because I believe there are many people who didn't like either one of the candidates, so they figured, why should I go voting? And quite honestly, I can totally understand that mindset, because there are two parties in the United States, and one of them was in power for 4 years, and a lot of people suffered like probably economic hardship, and didn't like what was going on, whether it was due to what the president did or not. But anyways, when there's a chance to vote for somebody else, they might be tempted to do so, but then if that somebody else is Donald Trump, well, then they might just say, well, why even bother? I don't like neither one of the candidates, so I'm just not going to vote. But you've seen what happened. Now we got to try to keep my language clean here. We have somebody in charge in the United States who's affecting the rest of the world in bad ways, just because some people decided they weren't going to bother voting. Like the actual percentage of the US population that actually voted for Donald Trump is relatively low. But because so few people voted, it reached 50% of the votes or more. And the way the electoral votes are distributed, well, now he's got a majority of, the electoral college there. And that's it. He considers that to be a huge mandate, a landslide victory, which of course it wasn't. But you guys in the States are in trouble for the next 3.5 years, and so are we, by the way, here in Canada. But I think in Canada, people understand now that voting is important. So thanks, guys. Thanks, but no thanks. We still don't like Trump, or many of us don't. I can't speak for everybody, obviously. But in this election, a lot of people are going to vote because they want their voices to be heard, whether that's on one side or the other, whether they want to become the 51st state or not, or they have totally different priorities, which is understandable. The liberal government that we had for the past 10 years or so perhaps hasn't done the very best job in everything there is, but at the same time, think about how much of your own misfortunes can you blame on politicians. Are we really that bad off here in Canada? I don't think so. But that leads me to another thing about the elections. How fair are Canadian elections? It's hard to say because, look, number one, we got an electoral map. Canada is divided into ridings. So for each riding, each party nominates their candidate, and then it depends on how many people reside there and the area and all this decides how many candidates they run or how large this area is. And the problem is that in each riding, there's only one candidate that can get elected, so it's the one with the most votes. So let's say a candidate for the Conservative Party gets 50.1% of the vote, and hypothetically, the NDP gets 49.9% of the vote, which is, it's hypothetical, guys. I know the NDP probably not going to get that much, but in some ridings they can actually win. Wouldn't you say they got a considerable amount of votes in that case? But winner takes all. Same problem in the US. If you go by the states, the entire state, the winner takes all. Whether the second place one had 49% of the votes or only 10. It doesn't make a difference. Is it possible to have the number of seats in Parliament that each party gets represent or mirror the popular vote? And I got to explain you something about the German electoral system. Many of you know that I grew up in Germany, and we learned this in school, and I've never forgotten it. And I think the system that they use in Germany is quite brilliant. Now, there might be other countries that have a similar system or have other ways of making sure that their parliament is more representative of the actual opinion of the population. But look, in Germany, what they do is each person gets 2 votes. The first vote is for the candidate in their riding. So that way they make sure that each riding, I don't know if they call it ridings there, they might call it district or whatever, but they make sure that way that each riding is represented in Parliament. The second vote is for the party, which means they actually take whichever party gets the most votes, regardless of whether their candidate in each riding got elected. You have a second vote now. You could vote for a Liberal in your riding, but then if you like the program of the Conservative Party better, you can then vote for the Conservative Party, and they will then get a number of seats assigned in the Parliament. And they got basically a list of candidates to fill those seats. And depending on how many of these second votes the party gets, there, like in Germany, I believe it's over 600 seats in Parliament. They get distributed according to pretty much at least half of the popular vote, if I'm understanding this right. See, so the representation in Parliament is assured that, number one, each riding is represented, and number two, each party gets a fair share of seats according to what the popular vote actually represented. Do you think this would be possible to implement in some way, shape, or form in Canada, perhaps? And what about the United States? I mean, the United States, the voting system is completely different. If you ask me, I would say it's inferior to what we have here. And what we have here is inferior to what they have in Germany. But then again, I'm biased, and I invite your comments, and I hope you don't get mad at me or something, because sometimes I get comments that say that I have been brainwashed and stuff, and haven't we all? So let me know what you think, and if you care to know about my predictions about Donald Trump or my opinions in past weeks and months about the elections here and the elections in the United States, well, I have more videos along those lines. They usually do very well here on YouTube, but hey, I'm no expert. I'm just sharing my thoughts, and I encourage you to do the same in the comment section. Here's another video that you may enjoy. Have a good day.